Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 3. And today I'm going to be giving you part 38 of What If Naruto is Betrayed by Hagoromo. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Became the God of Lightning over on Anime King, and enjoyed that guys. And over on Anime King 2, I posted a brand new episode of What If Naruto was put through hell and adopted by the Raikage. So go ahead and check out that and enjoy. And remember, if you're new, to go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. And yeah, without further ado, what do you say begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last spot we left off, as the entire forces were making their way toward the site, where they come to a stop, as they saw the massive beast from where they were. The Ten-Tail howled, shaking the entire premise of the earth. The thing was massive. It was then that Hagoromo and Hammer appeared. Mito was shocked to see them, as she couldn't understand how were they here. As they were walking here, they were visible. Not a spiritual form, but they were here. As they explained that the Shinigami had sent them. The Shinigami was watching everything that was going on. The Shinigami wasn't really afraid of Naruto because he was a god of death. A mere human cannot even comprehend the power that he possessed. But there was something that was confusing Shinigami. Being the god of death comes with certain perks, meaning that he could see every lifespan of every single human down there. But yet he could not see the lifespan of Naruto or Sasuke. And that was the thing that was putting him off. So, it seems that the Shinigami had sent them back to take care of what they started all those years ago. With that, the group morale got more stronger as they now had the two strongest shinobis in history. Not really shinobis, but gods, it seems. After all, the Sage of Six Paths was the one said to create the moon. Although Naruto did the same thing, they were counting on the effect that he could cancel out Naruto and give them the opportunity to take care of him. It was then that they saw the Ten-Tail was thrown. As both Naruto and Ragnarok dealt with the Ten-Tail, it stood no chance. The Ten-Tail power was immense, but Naruto was far stronger, and Ragnarok, given support, the Ten-Tail was beaten. Ragnarok fired a blast as Naruto immense the power. It tear a giant hole right through the beast, but the Ten-Tail could not be killed as it started to reform. Madara took that opportunity as he sealed it within himself. It was then that the high-class shinobis moved. All the former Hokages were in animation. As Naruto saw Minato, Mito came there as well, along with Hagoromo and Hamura, as Naruto was surprised to see them. As Hagoromo told him that he pissed off the god of death. As Naruto merely scoffed at that, they should be bowing at his feet right now, begging for his apology. But yet they were here to fight. As all of them attacked him at once, a gruesome, bloody fight then happened. As Naruto showed them that they still did not measure up. As he was countering their attacks, even though he was getting some nasty hits, he was getting back up. He was slammed with truth-seeking orbs after truth-seeking orbs. One of those orbs were to destroy anyone when coming in contact with them. But Naruto had all nature of chakra and he cancelled out the power of the orbs. But it did affect him as he staggered to 1 feet before dropping to a knee. But he got back up as he started to fight once again. As the group then swarmed him, Naruto changed the dimension as he brought them towards a dimension with nothing but lava. He then brought them towards a dimension where they were being pinned down. This was his mother dimension, as he was trapping them down there. He slaughtered a large portion of the Alliance Shinobi forces, as the others were forced to leap back. Hagoromo had to use a platform of earth that he created out of thin air to make them stand on when they arrived at the lava place. As Naruto teleported them back to the normal place and squashed another handful of them with a force of gravity. As the battle then ensued, as Naruto brought it a Susanoo, it had a giant eye just like the Ten-Tails. As Naruto had told Ragnarok to stay behind, As he fought, he started disabling and knocked around. He tore each and every Hokage soul to pieces, removing them from their body, as none of them stood a chance against him. The battle started getting more immense as Naruto was hit with all high blasts from all areas, Sasuke firing arrows as he staggered back. It was then that Konan launched a paper spear as Jiraiya grabbed onto Naruto. As he used the momentum to hold Naruto, it was a trap that they set, the three of them came up with. Itachi then came out of that paper spear as he stabbed Naruto with his blade. The blade ended up piercing through Jiraiya as well, as Mito cried out Jiraiya's name, Itachi, looking towards his brother that came to help. As Itachi sealed the both of them away in his blade, a sacrifice that Jiraiya made. Snad and the others were not near the scene to see what was going on, although the Hyugas must have relayed back to them. It was then that the world started to ripple and crack, as Naruto literally broke through the dimension where he was supposed to be stuck, showing that his power was unquenchable, unholdable. He moved so fast, he took off Itachi's head before Itachi could even mutter a single word. Sasuke cried out Itachi's name. As all of them moved, as Naruto staggered, breaking out of that dimension took a lot out of him. They all grabbed onto him, as the ceiling was much stronger than Kaguya's ceiling, considering that it had Hagoromo, Hamura, Sasuke and Mito. As Naruto started to get tightly packed by the stone, he told Hagoromo and Hamura to apologize for sealing him away all those years ago. But they did not, as he got trapped. Everyone thought that everything was over until the world started to tremble. Mountains started to break apart. As Naruto erupted, he exploded out of his spear like some kind of god. As he stood in mid-air, they pushed him, and he brought out everything. Momoshiki, Ishiki, and Kinshiki also arrived. As they were there the entire time just watching, the fight was quite entertaining after all. To another distance, Amado, Delta, Tiba, and Boro was, along with Jigen. As Jigen had a crazy idea that entails Naruto being broken for him to do what he has to do. So yeah guys, was basically as we left off. You guys can switch across the place and check it out for yourself. So just to begin this new episode. In a strange dimension, sealed away, there was nothing but a wide open area filled with luscious grass. Nothing but grass for miles and miles and miles away. The grass surrounded the entire place, showing no buildings, no trees, just grass on the ground. There was no sun or moon, but light illuminated the place. In the center of all of this was a bed, a single bed with a wool sheeting that seemed to be rather comfortable, yet chains were coming from the ground, chains that strapped someone down this bed. The person was unmoving, eyes were closed, but she felt it. Her finger twitched as her eyes slowly opened, as the power fluctuation from him going 100% even seeped into the seal where she was trapped. As Kaguya Otsutsuki opened her Byakugan eyes. "Naruto?" she said. Meanwhile, back on Earth, everyone held their breath. They seemed to be fearing to release it after they just felt the energy that just pulsed through the entire air. It was something so demanding. They felt their bones quake. They felt their hearts rattle. Their brains felt like it was squeezing, like pressure was added to their body. Too much for some of them to stand as they fall to their knees. This was the only time that anyone, the entire world, has ever witnessed the true power of Naruto Otsutsuki. As he stood there in mid-air, his body slowly descended down to the earth. As if you would look closely, you would see the hand of the Sage of Six Paths, a man that was said to be the god of all shinobi, shaking a bit because he was shocked to the amount of power he just felt. It felt like there was literally no end to it. As Naruto stood there, he had gone under a complete change. As Naruto looked down at his hand, "No one has ever pushed me this far before. Not even the Ten Tails. Seems you all have done the impossible," said Naruto. As he was not looking at them, he was looking at his hands. As Madara had his eyes set firmly on Naruto, he still couldn't believe that a being possessed such power. "I'm surprised myself. I didn't even know what I was capable of," said Naruto as he stepped. The truth-seeking orbs behind him moved along with him. There was 12 truth-seeking orbs behind him. Yes, 12. That was a strange number as that just appeared. His eyes, his Rinne Sharingan, were different, showing 12 megatamas in each. Instead of the previous 9, there was now 12 in them. There was 2 horns that came from his forehead that curled, going to the back of his head like some kind of crown. As they end, their tips touched at the back of his head. It was like a crown has been placed on top of his head. Silver lines came from his shoulder, running straight down to his fingernails. They literally went into his fingernails, as they seemed to be pulsating with some kind of strange power. They were humming, his entire body was. He was bare-chested as he was wearing a shirt. Inside of his chest there was a strange tattoo. It almost looked like an eye. It was the formation of an eye, but inside of that eye, 12 spirals were inside. 12 spirals that seemed to be humming silver. In his back there was 12 megatamas going down. Tattoos seemed to have just appeared in his body. As his Sharingan was no longer red, it had took a new color. It was white. White like the Byakugan. The lines of the Rinnegan that were supposed to be black, they were now red. In total, his entire body has changed. His physique even looked a bit different. As he stepped, the ground seemed to be shifting. Not like it was breaking, it was literally shifting, like it was phasing in and out of reality. Something that was unexplainable. He looked over towards Madara. "You know, you disappoint me," he said. "I thought you would have come back with a major boost. But in this fight, the power of the 10 tails hasn't really granted you that much. Well, figures. I was still holding back in the beginning." As Naruto turned his eyes towards Mito, before looking at Sasuke, "Do you now understand that none of you stand a chance?" Mito clenched her fists, as her fist then released. As Naruto stepped forward and he was gone, he appeared in front of the allied shinobi forces. There was no air, there was no shiftment of breeze or anything. He just vanished. His body seemed to be glowing as he stood there, hovering off the ground. "People of the elemental nations," he said, "you will not win. You gather your strongest warrior here. You gather all your forces. But it was nothing but a loss. As you can see, most of you have already died. This will be the best time to go down on your knees and beg for my forgiveness so I may spare your life." Everyone stood there, most of them not moving a single inch. "I can always kill all of you. Your villages still have people. The fighters, the non-fighters, the genins. The society can be rebuilt, given a few years. But by then, I will be in total control. So this is your last warning. Go on your knee and bow. Praise me as your new god, and perhaps I'll spare your life." As Naruto turned, bam! A truth-seeking orb slammed right into his face. His head slid back just slightly, as a grin spread on his face. As he grabbed the ball, before squeezing it, the truth-seeking orb vanished into dust. "I expected that much," he said as he looked towards Madara. "Well, you did say that you would go all out with me," said Madara. "Perhaps this time we have a proper fight one-on-one." "I did say that. You do know that your plan of casting that illusion won't work anymore, right?" "Then why should I be scared?" said Madara. "Let us fight to the end, shall we?" As Naruto walked, his body seemed to be shaking, as copies of himself emerged from his body. Hagoromo blinked as Naruto appeared in front of him, one of the copies, and smashed a fist into his face, launching him. Sasuke ducked under the kick that came towards his head, before he was grabbed by the throat and thrown. As Mito sent their chains towards the copy, but he grabbed them. The chains burst into dust as he moved. A fist slammed right into her stomach. Her eyes went wide as she was thrown violently. Homura lashed out with a precise strike to take her of the clone, as the clone slapped down his hand towards the ground and grabbed Homura by the shoulder before lifting him up and slamming a feet into his stomach, throwing him back. As Naruto focused towards Madara, "Now that the interruptions are out of the way, shall we?" "We shall," said Madara. As the both of them rushed toward each other, the steps they took shake the earth. Blam! Their hands connected. Rippled, time and space itself seemed to shake at the immense power that they were letting out. More on Naruto's case though. as Madara ducked under a swipe. A staff appeared in his hand as he twirled it and brought it towards Naruto's stomach. A beam appeared on the tip of it. It slammed right into Naruto's stomach, but it did not hurt him. As Madara saw the energy flow into his stomach and went straight towards his arm, he was directing it. As Naruto pointed his finger towards Madara's skull, Madara jumped back as the beam tore through the earth, going straight down for miles. Madara slammed his hands together before 4 arms came from his back, each of them producing a lightning rod, and threw it. The lightning rod exploded on impact near Naruto. As everything went white, Madara simply blinked as a beam of light fly from out of nowhere, smashing down Naruto's location. The dust cleared away to show that Naruto was still standing there, perfectly unharmed. Before he moved, BAM! Madara was thrown by the force as a kick had slammed into his face. Madara flipped as he skated back on his feet and landed. As Naruto engaged him in taijutsu, their hands clashed together. Madara staggered back because of the force, steam rippling from his hands as Naruto hit him. He brought his fist forward as Naruto grabbed it and flicked him over his shoulder and drove him into the earth. The earth cracked and split apart as Naruto drove his feet into his chest. Madara was knocked straight on the ground. Naruto slammed his hand together and yanked on something. Lava exploded out of the earth. Madara raised his hand towards lava and blasted it back down, only for a hook to slam into his throat. As Madara gasped for breath, as Naruto had hooked his hand and slammed it right into Madara's neck. Naruto then grabbed him by the face and threw him out of the earth. Madara broke right through it. But before he could go any further, Naruto grabbed his leg and smashed him back down. He picked him up and smashed him from left to right as he threw him like a rag doll. Madara got back up. Blam! Naruto's feet connected with his face. As Madara rolled, light release, he said. Spiritual slice as he spewed out a massive dose of light from his mouth that was moving at tremendous speed. Reflection, said Naruto, as a mirror appeared in front of him and redirected the light release. The beam moved fast. It was triple the speed. It tore Madara's left arm right off as he collapsed, dropping from the momentum. The moment he looked back up, his face was grabbed as Naruto launched himself with Madara. He threw Madara into the side of a mountain as he came crashing down. As Naruto slammed his hand together, 3 other mountains rise out of the earth as he dropped them on top of Madara. But he wasn't done there, as he stomped his knee into the ground. A stone, larger than Konoha itself, rose from the earth, as a large part of the landscape was shifted. As he was far away from the group, but they could see from where they were. As Naruto threw it, boom! It slammed into the earth. As Naruto redirected all his 2 ticking balls into one, before turning into a spear as he threw it down. It split right through the meteor that he threw down and exploded. The explosion wiped the entire eastern seaboard away once again. After all, the last time Naruto was here, he had melted the entire place. As Naruto had moved so fast with Madara and threw him here, where there was no population. The last time Naruto was here, everyone had died. So it wasn't like anyone was here to die again, as there was no more water around here, as all of it had been dried up when Naruto had dropped that major stun. When the smoke finally cleared away, Madara was still there, but he was not in a good shape. Both hands and legs were gone. Yes, he was nothing but a chest and a head, as it was a nasty gash that was in his face. But his body was reforming as Naruto landed with a boom. I'm afraid our time is up, said Naruto. Stronger foes are there for me to fight. And with me now releasing my power, I need to turn it on them before they get a chance to put me down. Madara coughed. You truly are impressive, he said. I've never met someone as strong as you. I feel honored to die by your hands. An honor that you shall have, said Naruto. He picked Madara up before pushing his hand right into his chest. His hand was glowing a bright white, as Naruto then yanked something out of him. Naruto looked towards his palm. There was a fruit in his palm, a strange red fruit. The ear in front of him rippled and twisted as Naruto threw the fruit inside of the twisting space, and it was gone. As Madara dropped, as he coughed up blood, as his body was no longer able to heal itself when he had the Ten Tail, its hair had returned back to normal in his eyes. He was no more the Ten Tail Jinchuriki. As Madara, despite the pain that he was feeling, immense pain, had a wistful smile on his face. "You are strong, immensely so," said Naruto, "but you are just not strong enough." As he clenched his fists, Madara's body started to come back on itself before it exploded. All the blood and grime didn't even touch Naruto. His body seemed just to ward it away. As Naruto then lifted himself up before he vanished, he reappeared toward the scene as all of his clones that he had released was sucked back into his body. As he stood there, unfazed, uninjured, Hagoromo looked over towards him. Hagoromo seemed really angry. To know all this time, even back then, he would never have won if Naruto was going all out. And now, there was no ceiling that could hold the power that he contained. Mito and Sasuke was panting. Despite the both of them getting a taste of the power that Hagoromo possessed, they were still not as strong as him because it was his power after all. And Naruto clones were not mere clones. They seemed to be as strong as him, or they couldn't even understand how that possible. He was just toying with them all this time. It was just for nothing. As Mito looked towards him, she knew that he hated her right now and everyone else. After all, he warned them that if they try to seal him, he will kill them. She looked up towards Hagoromo. "Is there anything we can do?" she said. And for once, he did not have an answer. Homura stood there. The allied shinobi forces was confused as they saw Naruto walking before coming to a stop. "If you want all this to stop, bow," said Naruto. "Bow," he says. He looked towards Hagoromo. "You know right now that you don't have the power to defeat me. I can kill you at any moment notice. So if you want me to spare the earth and don't slaughter everyone as I said, bow and apologize." Homura dropped to his knees as he lowered his head. "Not you," said Naruto. As Homura looked up at his brother. "Him. You're always prideful. Always. So strong. Thinking that you're better than everyone else, despite trying to act all holy and above it all. But yet still, you sealed away your own brother, putting me to misery, even making me beg for my own death. And you expect me to give a damn that you're losing," said Naruto. "So, bow." Hagoromo clenched his fist before looking back at the people over there as he dropped to his knees. He looked up at Naruto. "There, you got what you wanted. Spare them. Why should I? This was my fault. If I had tried and find a way to cooperate with you, rather than sealing you away, I could have found a way." "What?" Homura said. As Naruto looked towards him. "Oh, he didn't tell you." Homura looked confused as he looked towards Naruto. "Tell me what?" "Oh, he didn't tell you. Before we fought that day, in the morning, I spoke to him. I told him that I would rule all the humans, that I would conquer them, that they don't deserve the power that he bestowed upon them, and I was going to take it all away. He begged me, he pleaded with me. He said that he didn't want to break up the family. And I had a change of heart. Well, I didn't completely change, but I thought perhaps it was another way. But we were still going to be seen as gods, to make the people worship us, but to not turn them into full-blown slaves. But then, we start to argue because he wants to be the person that passed around the wisdom. When I told him no, people need to understand that it is either using your power for peace or death. You know what he told me? He doesn't want to be a tyrant. I told him that we were doing this to save human race, to make sure that they don't abuse chakra. But he told me no, let them find the way themselves. People come to understand one another. They will come to truly see the ways. And they will not turn against each other, and they will use chakra for good reasons. I told him that he was a naive fool. But just because he knew I was stronger and I was gonna have my way, he turned you against me. At first, I really wanted to work with the both of you, because through and through the both of you are still my brother. Even though we fight and we bicker, you are still family. And mother would never want us to fight even though you both seal her away. She wouldn't want us to fight, to come to blows, to actually try to kill each other. But yet he had to push it. The reason being he was jealous. Go ahead, tell him. You were jealous that I was stronger than you. The almighty sage of Sixth Path who bestowed chakra to all humans. You were jealous, you taught them. But then I came back, proven to be stronger. You know that the weak always follow the strong. So you want to make sure that you didn't have to follow me. So you wanted to take me out of the picture. So you convinced Hamura to seal me away. Didn't you, brother? Hagoromo, is that true? Hagoromo lowered his head. He was a danger to humankind. I told you I would find another way, said Naruto. But you told me I must leave the humans to learn on their own. Just give them tips here and there. That I shouldn't be a tyrant. I told you I would not kill them, but I would use my power to make them understand. Show them fear. Out of fear, results will come. But you told me no. That's because you want to do it yourself. Because you're nothing but a self-inconsiderate bastard who just want to be known as strongest despite your modest ways. Despite acting like this holy monk who go around sharing chakra and teaching to everyone. You wanted to be seen as a sage. You wanted your name to be passed down in history. And all this time I was locked away, suffering, trying to find a way to end my own life. And now you think just bowing down to me would do it. Well, you're wrong. I just wanted to see the look on your face when you realize that you've lost. That you can do nothing more. That despite throwing everything at me, you can't win. You're far out of your league. Say it. Say it. Say it. Say it, said Naruto. Hagoromo lowered his head. I give, he said. A memory flashed through Hagoromo's mind at those words. As Naruto was stomping on his back and holding one of his arms behind him, Say it, said Naruto with a smile on his face. He was just 8 years old. As Hagoromo was on the ground. No! Say it! No! Alright then, as Naruto tugged his arm. Fine, fine! I give up. I give. As Naruto released him, Hagoromo dropped down to the ground. You still can't beat me, brother. I guess I'm just too strong for you. As Hagoromo looked up and glared at Naruto. Not for too long, he said. Huh, whatever you say. As he turned, you see that, Mom? As Kaguya was standing there. The strongest as always. How about you, Hamura? Said Naruto. I'm fine, Hamura said. Scaredy pants, said Naruto. As he walked off, the jolt in his step and a smile on his face. Always the strongest, it seems. In the flashback, Hagoromo clenched his fists as he glared up at Naruto. But what could he do? What now? Said Mito. Now all of you drop to your knees and bow as well, said Naruto. It's not gonna end until you all realize there's nothing that you can do. You sent everything and yet you still lost. Stop looking at me with those eyes, Uchiha. Your brother tried to seal me away and I killed him. All of you did. And I should make good on my promise and exterminate all of you. I did warn you. I did warn all of you, but yet you still tried to come against me. Where's Purvis Sage? Said Mito. He's gone. You came back. Bring him back, she said. No. Even if I could, why should I? He was helping to try to seal me away. But you won. So bring him back, she said. No. She lowered her head. You're really gone, are you? Gone? You're no longer the same person that used to be there for me when I was younger. If you can't see that now, you're still too naive, said Naruto. My name is Naruto Osusuki. Naruto Uzumaki was just a false image. Someone without his memories. And that is now over. As Naruto moved and grabbed Hagoromo by his throat, Naruto, Hamura said. As Hagoromo tried to move, Naruto slammed a fist into his gut. all the air was knocked out of his lungs. As Naruto gripped his throat tight, before waving his hand, a bright, blinding light seemed to blind Hagoromo's hands behind him as Naruto held his throat. The army then came rushing over. "What's this?" said Naruto. "You're all still standing. It doesn't matter now. If we lose, we're gonna be under your command, the tyrant of the world. But we will not stand for that," said Oniki. "All of us are willing to sacrifice our life to make the younger generation be spared from your tyrant. You will not control the entire world. You will not win today. You will go down." Hagoromo saw everyone, as all of them were here ready to fight. He smiled as he looked at Naruto. Seems the hope is not completely destroyed. Naruto tossed him away as he smashed into the ground. He flexed his chakra and broke out of the binds. Sasuke's eyes started to spin. "You will die," Sasuke said as he clenched his blade. "Seems you people don't understand when you're completely outclassed. But you know what? Bring it," said Naruto. As the army came charging in, thousands of ninjas that remained rushed toward Naruto, running to their death. As Naruto simply smiled before he raised his hands to the heaven. As he then stopped, looking up at the sky, before roots exploded out of the earth. Massive roots from the base of a large tree, it seemed, as it spread out everywhere. Ninjas got skewered right through their chests, as the root seemed to be moving on its own accord, ripping ninja to pieces. Jutsus were launched, but to their surprise, the roots started to absorb it. Fires raged on, trying to burn them, but they burst through it. Wind tried to cut into it, but the roots were too thick. As Naruto laughed, "This pathetic display of power, and you think you can stand up to me?" he said. All of you would die. I guess I'll just take the younger generation to make them understand. When none of their loved ones come back home, to make them see that I am indeed the true ruler of this world. Because you people don't seem to understand that you have failed. Try as you much, none of you will win." As Sasuke came leaping forward, as he threw his blade, Naruto tilted his head as the blade passed him. As Sasuke switched with his blade and came behind Naruto, electricity crackled in his hand as he came down. Naruto turned and grabbed the hand as he grabbed it to the side, diverting Sasuke's blow. Sasuke twisted the other hand and smashed it into Naruto's face, throwing his head to the side. As Naruto's smile seemed to increase. "I warn you, Uchiha," he said. As Naruto released Sasuke's grip, his hand reached towards Sasuke's chest. Sasuke tried to vanish. He tried to switch with his blade, but Naruto had gripped his other wrist. As he cut his flow of chakra, slash! Sasuke Mito cried out as Naruto's hand burst right through his chest. "Say hello to your brother from me." Sasuke looked down. "You bastard," he said. As Naruto ripped his arm out, Sasuke's eyes closed. Mito exploded in rage. The fox form built around her rather quickly. As Kurama roared, Mito rushed forward, a Bijuu bomb formed in the fox's mouth, and launched it. As Naruto jumped up and kicked it, he kicked the explosion right back toward the fox, who spun and battered away with the tail. As it exploded, Mito burst out of her fox form chains, fleeing behind her as he came to skewer Naruto. He ducked and he twisted and he dodged. He then stomped into the earth, shifting the ground. As she backpedaled, a brutal kick smashed into her back, as she couldn't even keep up with his speed as she smashed into the ground. Suddenly, an ice mirror appeared, as an ice dagger was coming straight towards Naruto's throat. He grabbed it and squashed it. As Haku spinned another ice dagger, going right towards his stomach, Naruto slapped her hand down. As he twisted and knocked her feet away, kicking her to the side, she rolled as she came to a stop. as ice senbons were in her hand. Really? Didn't I told you to move on? Yes. But I can't, she said. So, I might as well join the battle to try and take you down to try and save the world, she said. Naruto lowered his head. It doesn't matter anymore, he said to her. Because it's all over. As Mito got up to her feet. You monster. As she looked down towards Sasuke. I warned you. If you guys try to steal me away, I would kill you. You're not any exception, Mito. I am not your brother. You should have figured that out long time ago. But I guess you still hold on to past emotions. As you can see, as he showed them his chest. No necklace. The moment I find out that Yujito was pregnant, I decided that it was time to move on completely from you guys. And I told you to move on as well, but yet you still tried to attack me. You still joined on the fight. If you had just leave, Konoha would have been spared. Everything would have been great for you guys because I wouldn't have touched your village. But yet still you came and you fought. So, the only way to end this right now is death. I couldn't agree more, said Mito, as she shot forward going through hand sign. A massive wind jutsu as Naruto seemed to absorb it. She twists as she ducked under his arm. Haku then gave her support as both of them attacked him at the same time. As Naruto twists and weaves through their attacks, his eyes 10 times faster than theirs. As 3 chains came from Mito's back, as Naruto leaped over them. Haku created 10 ice mirrors around Naruto. Chains came through the ice mirrors and he just slipped right through them. Using the distraction, a chain burst from the ground. As Naruto jumped up in the air, Haku appeared in mid-air and launched several senbon towards him. As he merely spun, chakra exploded from all of the points over his body as he blew them all away. He raised both of his hands. Enough! The two of them were thrown like ragdoll as they smashed their way into the earth. He then stomped his feet on the ground as a literal earthquake tremor everywhere before he drive his hand into the ground. 2 massive arms came up and grabbed both of them. Mito flared her chakra as she exploded out of it. She rushed forward as she swung her fist towards his face. He ducked before grabbing her arm and flicking her over as he slammed her into the ground. He flipped her on her back as he placed a hand behind her before grabbing her on the back of the neck as he picked her up off the ground. Go ahead. Kill me, she said. You're taking everything away from me already. You're gone. You killed Sasuke. And I have nothing left, she said to him. As Naruto just kept on looking at the back of her head. He was not moving at all. Haku thought perhaps that Mito gasped as something drive right into her back. As Naruto ripped out the remaining half of the fox power inside of her. And her body crumbled to the ground as she fell. Haku looked towards him before she dropped towards her knee. You killed her. I warned you all, said Naruto. You actually did it. I thought... Haku lowered her head. Go ahead, she said. Seems you are really no longer the person I fell in love with. She looked back up. Slice! Her head was gone. He didn't even look back at the situation. As he just walked off, he warned them after all. He's not Naruto Uzumaki. He's Naruto Osusuke. Meanwhile, the ninja forces, the large of them had perished in the attack. The onslaught of the trees. The roots that seemed to be from... They didn't even know. The group had been slaughtered. Just a couple remained. The couple that was able to live on through all of this. Most of the Konoha 12 had died. As the only people still remaining were Hinata and Ino. They were the only 2 girls remaining. The others had died. It was strange because it was out of luck that they survived. Quick movements and getting out of the way. And also, Neji, saving the both of them in the rotation before he was pierced and left to die as well. Everyone felt their morale drop as their friends, their families were being slaughtered. And yet, the three Kages still stood. Tsunade looked around. Jiraiya was gone. Mito was gone. Sasuke was gone. As the Hyuga beside her told her everything, the trees had stopped. But they barely had a force anymore. They had fought a god, and they lost. They thought that they were actually going to win. That's enough fighting, said Naruto. You people won't listen? Then I'll just end it all, as he slammed his hand together. Everyone looked up. Instead of them, meteors started to drop from the sky. But it was not dropping on them. You're smart enough to see where those are going. Meanwhile, at the stand, the remaining people that were remaining behind looked up in the sky as all of them froze. A giant meteor was coming from the sky. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. At Kumo, it was the same. At the stone, it was the same. At Konoha, it was the same. All of them were gonna die. Everyone paused in their action. The right Kage clenching his fists. As they were all gonna die. Tell me now, when I destroy all of your homes, what are you gonna fight for? He did not let the meteors fall, they were just hovering there in mid-air. What will you stand for? You monster, said Tishikage. No, you people are just naive fools. If you had listened to me at the beginning and run, none of this stuff happened. But yet you still choose to fight me, and yet you call me the monster. I am not a monster, you're mistaken. I am this world new god. And this is the last time I will say it. Bow, and your homes will not be destroyed. You, the remaining Kages, go on your knees, bow your heads. Immediately. I'm gonna count down from 5. And if I count to 1 and none of you aren't bowing, then it's all gonna be over. 5, 4, 3. They looked at each other. As Tsunade lowered her head, the Tsuchikage lowered his head next. The Raikage reluctantly cursed before lowering his head. They might have been trying to win at first, but they now realized it was nothing but a slaughter. And if they did not, their civilians, the Genins that weren't in the war, would just die. All the fighting then came to a stop, with 100 or so people remaining behind. As it was over, the war was done. The Elemental Nation lost against one man. Naruto ducked as a hook passed over his head. A red chain then sliced the ground where he was as he vanished. As he landed on his feet slowly. I was wondering when you were gonna attack, said Naruto. Oh, so you sense us? Why, of course, from the moment you enter the Earth atmosphere, said Naruto. If you hadn't read the moon sign, this world belongs to me. But I was looking forward to see another Osusuke. I was surprised that there was 3 of you. Well, 4 counting the one that is still not ready to face me yet. But he's out of his hiding spot for once. Seems like he's waiting for me to get weaker and probably attack me then. I guess I should end this quickly, whoever you are. My name is Momoshiki. And who is this? That is Kinshiki. And you? I am Urashiki. Shiki, said Naruto. So tell me, what brings you here, said Naruto, talking casually. You. We sense power of Kaguya within you. We have came to the conclusion that you're our son. Yes, that's correct. Well, if you weren't watching the proceedings earlier. But it doesn't matter. I'm gonna kill all 3 of you, said Naruto. I was looking for a good fight. The recent fights has been rather boring. Think about it in my situation. Being at the level that you're at, being strong and yet no one is able to give you a actual challenge. So tell me, can you give me a good fight? Momoshiki simply looked towards Naruto. You are strong indeed, but you are just a halfling. Halfling, you say? Well then, this should be fun if you think of me as a halfling, said Naruto. As his smile simply increased. But who should I go for first? You seem to be calling all the shots here. He blinked away. Kinshiki moved in the way with his axe. A red axe that he was holding onto. As he dropped it, Naruto caught it in his palm. Fast, big guy. But not fast enough. As Naruto's nails dig into it and broke it, before he spin, Kinshiki ducked. As a chain came from his palm, red chains that tried to grab Naruto, who flipped over them, before slamming his foot right into Kinshiki's face, launching the man back. Is the big guy your bodyguard or something? Momoshiki said nothing as he slowly descended down from the earth. He appeared in front of Naruto's boot, coming towards Naruto's face, as Naruto ducked underneath it, before he appeared over Momoshiki. As Naruto dropped his leg, Momoshiki caught it, and twist and throw him down towards the earth. As Naruto was falling, the hook came towards his back. Naruto turned and grabbed it. What are you trying to do with this thing? You know I'm not a fish, right? As he yanked it, Hiroshiki flipped over towards Naruto, as he sent a palm straight towards Naruto's chest, who weaved under the side, before grabbing the man's arm and twisting him and throwing him away. As Naruto had chopped himself in a circle, to his left, to his right, and in front of him, he simply smirked before raising his hand. Boom! A force exploded out of his palms, forcing the three of them back. As Naruto smiled, stronger than I give you credit for, he said. You mere insignificant human, gain a bit of power and think you can defy a god, said Momoshiki. Oh, said Naruto. So you see yourself as a god? Well, sorry to disappoint you, but I don't really see it. Momoshiki lowered his head before he swallowed something. 3 strange red pills. He raised his hand to the sky as a ball of literal death was created. Well then, human, I'll just end you with this. You fool, think you can defy a god, he said as he raised himself up to the sky. As Naruto stood there unfazed by the attack, over to the side the remaining shinobis were running. They were fleeing for their life. Things were about to get destructive. As Momoshiki threw it, the ball of death descending upon the earth like it was going to consume everything. A roar could be heard over to the side. As everyone turned their head, Ragnarok, its entire body was oozing with power. He opened his mouth as a beam shot from it. A beam so devastating it carved through the ground despite being a distance away off the ground. As the beam struck the bomb, boom, everything went white, the explosion seeming to be deafening, as the place was consumed in a bright light. As Naruto appeared on top of Ragnarok's head, as he patted his head, Ragnarok simply looked forward to destruction. When the smoke and everything cleared away, Naruto felt a shift on Ragnarok as the axe, a newly reformed axe, came from Kinshiki. As Naruto twisted and dived to the side, Ragnarok shook his head as he struck off Kinshiki. He brought his paw down only for Kinshiki to swift and sliced into it. As Ragnarok roared, he released a beam of flame down towards the ground as Kinshiki jumped away, before he landed gently, before a kick slammed into his back. He was thrown as he crumbled up on the earth. Naruto dropped from the sky and slammed a heel into his stomach. The man was driven deep within the earth before red chains exploded out of his palms, trying to grab Naruto. Naruto gripped the chains instead and swung him as he threw him to the side, Kinshiki breaking through multiple rock platforms. As Naruto moved forward, bam, he slammed his feet right into the man's face, throwing him backwards. Kinshiki stabbed his hand in the ground as he stopped moving back, before he slammed his other hand in the ground. The entire ground erupted as Naruto was pushed off course. Boom! A fist slammed into Naruto's stomach. As Naruto actually winced, he was thrown back by the force he slammed deep within the earth. Kinshiki then came down another. This time it wasn't an axe, it was a hammer. A massive hammer. Boom! The ground shattered as Naruto was hit directly. Boom! Kinshiki struck him again. Kinshiki brought it back down as Naruto slammed his fist right into the hammer. It exploded as Naruto slammed his knee right into the man's stomach after jumping just a bit. He then grabbed the man by his face before slamming his head right into the man's skull. Kinshiki staggered back as Naruto delivered several quick jabs to his stomach. The man staggered as blood exploded from his mouth as Naruto twisted his leg and slammed it across Kinshiki's head, dazzling him as he slammed into the wall that remained. As Naruto raised his hand and blasted a hole right into his stomach, Kinshiki cried in pain. He grunted as he got to his feet holding on to his wound. "Kinshiki," said Momoshiki, "it's time." Kinshiki only nodded as Naruto watched as the man got pulled away. The man was turned into a single fruit. "You dare to defy a god, mortal. I will show you what the power for God truly is," said Momoshiki. "Well then, God, show me," said Naruto. As Momoshiki ate the fruit, a bright, blinding light consumed him. Throughout all of this, Yorishiki moved back as Momoshiki started to change. "Now, mortal." As a third eye in his head opened up, a yellow Sharingan. He had yellow eyes, black markings running down his face. His hands had turned into claws, his entire physique, his body had changed. "Now, mortal, let me show you what the power of God looked like," he said. The ground in front of him exploded upwards. It seems like 1,000 hands came crashing on Naruto as they threw him in smash right into a chasm. As Momoshiki stepped forward, in an instant he was gone. As Naruto looked up, a boot slammed into his face, throwing him backwards as he bounced on the ground repeatedly before coming to a stop. As Momoshiki shot his hand out as chains wrapped Naruto up, he pulled him back. Momoshiki jumped as he slammed a kick hard into Naruto's face as a sonic boom went off. Naruto's body was thrown at a ridiculous speed as he teared through the earth crevice, blasting backwards. Momoshiki floated in mid-air. "Now do you understand? You don't stand a chance," he says, a red staff appeared in his hand as he swinged it. But instead of paying grunts, laughter could be heard. "Yes, yes, yes!" Naruto screamed as he burst out of the ground. "Now this is what I've been waiting for. A fight where I can actually enjoy myself. There is nothing better than when life and death situation is on the board. When you have to actually try. You're one crazy human." "Indeed I am," said Naruto. "Well then, shall we begin the real battle?" As he shot forward, Momoshiki moved as well. Sonic booms going off as they run towards each other. Meanwhile, on top of a hill a distance away, Jigen was watching everything with his comrades to his side as they were just peering down at what was going on. Jigen stood there, a soft smile on his face. Everything was going according to his plan. He excused himself as he just vanished into a portal. He appeared at a weird place where there was a platform and there was something restrained. It was a Jubei. It seemed like a baby form of it though. "Tails, I'll be needing your power," said Jigen as he extended his hand towards the Tails. Yes, his plan was going just according to plan. Now he will simply have to wait. But guys, if you end subscribe right here. If you want to see the next part, so do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification they posted. And yeah, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Became the God of Lightning, and enjoy that, guys, over on Anime King. And I also posted a brand new episode of What If Naruto Was Put Through Hell and Adopted by the Raikage over on Anime King 2, guys. So go ahead and enjoy that. And remember, if you're new, to go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. And yeah, without further ado, I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace.